It's natural that when one approaches and looks at and observes great works of art, one must approach them, whether as believer or unbeliever, in the same way one has to approach works of nature, with the necessary awe at the secrets they are based on, at the mystery they contain, claimed Anton Webern in 1933. This was 3 years after completing his quartet, Opus 22, and it's certainly a work full of mystery. To a casual listener, it might sound like a haphazardly assembled collection of random notes, a sort of chaotic, pointillistic pointlessness. But Webern assures us that it isn't. One thing must be clear, he says, that rules of order prevail here. So what I'd like to do today is briefly explain those rules so that you, the listener, won't be lost when you hear the piece. What you're hearing is the 12-tone row that forms the basis of the quartet. The 12-tone method, or the use of a 12-tone row as a principle of organization, was devised by Arnold Schoenberg, Webern's teacher. Both composers argued that the history of music could be seen as a liberation of dissonance, because over time, composers and listeners had become accustomed to using and hearing more and more complex overtone relationships. We must understand that consonance and dissonance are not essentially different, Webern told his Viennese audience. Dissonance is only another step up the scale. As such, Schoenberg and Webern, along with Alban, became proponents of the 12-tone method, a system of organizing tones that gave composers a way to navigate the infinite possibilities offered by entirely chromatic music, or music that uses all of the available pitches instead of a selected subset like a major or minor scale. To use the 12-tone method, a composer first writes a row using all 12 notes of the chromatic scale and enters this into a matrix. For his quartet, Webern composed the row F sharp, E flat, D, F, E, A flat, A, B flat, B, C sharp, G, C. This is called the prime row, or P0. It can also be used backwards in what's called the retrograde form. Next, the composer figures out the inversion of the row. As F sharp falls a minor third to D sharp in Webern's row, in the inversion it will rise a minor third to A natural. The composer uses this technique to figure out the inversion of the entire prime row and enters this in the matrix. Here's what the inversion of Webern's prime row sounds like. This can also be played from bottom to top in retrograde inversion, which sounds like this. Finally, a composer figures out all of the transpositions of the rows he has created and enters these to complete his matrix. This is the source material that a composer uses to write 12-tone music. Now, simply playing the rows in order wouldn't make for a very interesting piece. In this copy of the score of Webern's quartet, I've color-coded the rows he used, so that you can see how they fit together and leap from one instrument to another. Webern used the rows to create a structure for his quartet based on the symmetry found in nature. This careful construction is a far cry from the random nonsense that some people hear it as. Now, you've said that knowing the theory behind how the piece was written doesn't necessarily increase your enjoyment of it as a performer, but would you say that it does hold the piece together in a way, make everything coherent?
The strong form and the strong structure of the pieces are essential to them being great, and that's part of what makes them great, and that's possibly everything. They're so well done. But because they're so well done, you don't need to know how it works necessarily as a performer to give a great performance of the work. You don't need to know how a car is put together to know how to drive it. You just need to know how to kind of turn on the ignition, put your foot on the gas, and go.